Don't worry, we're going to let you out to Exhibit Hall shortly, but before we do that, I do want to recognize some folks that made this conference possible from a thematic perspective, from a supporting us perspective, and it is our planning committee. And here to represent our planning committee is Raquel Hill, Austin Cusak, and Brian Correia.
Good morning. It's so great to be here with you today, and I'm Raquel Hill. I'm professor and chair of the Computer and Information Sciences Department at Spelman College. I joined Spelman in 2019 after spending 14 years at Indiana University. So one of the first things that I did when coming to Spelman was to teach networks and security. So that's my area of research specialization, and it's one of the things that I'm most passionate about. And I think it's important that we raise awareness of security-related issues in everything that we do, because everything that we do, there's a risk. We're so dependent on networked computation from things from our banking, from our gas. That's important now because gas prices are on the rise. Medical, our power grid. Everything that we do is dependent upon, access to some type of computing resource. And we're relying on those systems to be secure and available. And that's why we chose the theme of demystifying security, because I think most people think that, security and securing systems is extremely difficult. It's something beyond what we're capable of doing. But there are things that we're not doing that we know how to do. And part of the reasons we're not doing it is because there are not enough people who have an awareness and an understanding of some of the security-related issues, how to even specify security goals, what mechanisms actually make the best in addressing and satisfying those goals, how to specify policies. And so the things that we know how to do, we're not doing because there's a lack of awareness. And so part of the theme for this particular conference this year was to let's think about how do we pull back the veil on security and systems and security goals and policies and mechanisms and demystify that and raise the awareness and help people to understand the importance of those things.
Thank you. So Brian Correia, I'm actually Director of Business Development for the SANS Institute. I work on the certification side for GIAC. I actually started my career back in 2000 with SANS. So back in 2000, cybersecurity didn't even have that word. It was information assurance, information security. I'm not even sure anybody knew. But just like I believe here with most of this audience, we didn't originally come from cybersecurity. So I used to work on the Consumer Electronics Show and FOSSI and fun things like that with the trade show industry. So that's my background. But I started doing these events in this new industry. I did an event called ShadowCon back in the old days with the Navy. It was kind of like what actually started DEF CON and Black Hat and some of those type of events. But when it comes to cybersecurity, I always try to bring it back to the humans. So I always try to think of how the world is affected by what we're doing in this room and places like RSA and other great organizations. So I think of, like, for example, I have many friends in Hawaii. There was potentially a major attack about 3 weeks ago. If you actually Google it, it's interesting because our industry, there's a lot of news on bad things like the Colonial Pipeline. But with Immigration and Customs, they actually stopped an attack that was going to happen in Oahu. You could probably figure out the country that was doing that. As you can imagine, that if they knocked down the power plant in Oahu and also Kauai, there's no backups. They're in the middle of nowhere, right? So what bad things could have happened? But the Homeland Security investigations actually stopped that. But you think of things like, I think of my mom and the metal equipment and the things that really affect this industry and how it's more than just, hackers and money and stuff like that. It's our everyday lives and how it's all affected. But Raquel, you brought up so many great points. But today's conference really is kind of tied into, hey, let's figure this all out. You know, we're trying to get this into a more professional kind of, so sometimes the joke I always say is it's a little bit of the wild, wild west when this industry was created, and now we're starting to become much more professional. So you're starting to see this industry like the doctoral, like a lawyer, like a lot of other industries. So it's really nice, and I believe that's what separates this conference from a lot of them, is we're starting to get this to be, and what I always love, so Rodney and the team, what you do great with the nice framework is you're making this so much more professionalized, and you're now, I'm not just a doctor, I'm an econologist, I'm a pediatrician, cybersecurity, you're a pen tester, you're a threat warning analyst, there's a cyber defense analyst, a manager, something, right? So that's what's really exciting about this industry. So thank you all for being here today. So Austin?
Hey, I'm Austin. So I'm representing CISA, so I'm excited to be here. Our director, Jen Easterly, has put a new dress code out for us, so I dressed up for all of you. I left my Star Wars t-shirt and hoodie at home, and I wore a polo.
Free Britney, though.
No Free Britney shirt today. So if you don't know Jen Easterly, she's got amazing fashion, so it's pretty exciting. Okay. So we are excited to be here. The planning committee, we met frequently. It was a lot of fun work that we actually got to discuss and debate. And we had so many good proposals, and if yours was not chosen, it was Brian's fault.
And I say it's Austin's fault.
So tell us about the proposals, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, give you an idea, only about 10% of the proposals were actually accepted. So just to tell you how many proposals were submitted. So there was over 100 presentations that were actually submitted, and we only had, like 22 slots that we actually had to fill. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of really difficult decisions. Every single presentation was debated, it was voted on, re-voted on. Literally, nobody had one decision. I mean, give you an idea, I work for SANS, I'm on the committee, and pretty much all our proposals did not make it. So just to give you an idea, so just to tell you the difficulty. So there was a lot of things that went into the decisions, everything from was it covering what really NICE's mission is, right? Which is professionalizing cybersecurity down to diversity, inclusion. A lot of those particular topics were actually submitted. Also tying into the theme of what the conference was. We also try to be as fair as possible. In other words, we try to cover as many organizations and as many voices as possible. So hence why we, one group, one talk, pretty much at most, I think was decided. So, but we were trying to be very, very careful on that. So I know we got to know each other. We're like best friends at this point because we spent like days together now talking about these particular topics and stuff along those lines. But first off, thank you for everybody that did submit. I apologize yours didn't make in. Please don't give up. We'd love to see your presentations for the future. Just realize that there was only so many slots, and that's what made it really difficult. So as you can imagine, when you're down to 10% or less, and I have to admit the quality this year was excellent. I think it's probably the best year we saw of quality, which only made our jobs 20 times more difficult. So. But thank you for the room for everybody that did submit.
Thank you, Brian. I think Brian summarized, gave a great summary of the process that we went through in order to try to determine, who would actually be here presenting. And we really do appreciate all of the submissions, all of the hard work. It was a difficult and challenging job, but we appreciate it because it is so important. And just to see the level of engagement, it is encouraging because I battle with, every time I turn my machine on, I'm like, is it in a trustworthy state? Right? And I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves is everything that we're doing, like, is it in a trustworthy state? Can I trust this? Can I trust my data? So we really do appreciate the level of engagement, the number of submissions that you had, and thank you so much. Austin.
Yeah, so the it was fun because I remember the first morning we were all talking about these proposals. I was actually in Colorado in a blizzard, and I was trying to drive, and I was freaking out my wife, and I'm like, I can't miss this. I have to weigh in on these proposals because we debated them. We really had to go through and discuss it. And I remember someone made a comment like, can't we extend it another day? And it's like, we all got day jobs. We can't do it another day. But so we're excited to be here, and I just want you all to think, like 20 years from now, we will all be looking back on this moment and realize we all took part in professionalizing something new, something that is growing. So it may not feel like it right now as we are amidst the chaos, but we all are playing a very small part in protecting our society. And it's a really cool thing what we are taking part of. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So again, I want to thank the Planning Committee, and I do want to recognize those in the crowd. If you were on this year's Planning Committee or next year's Planning Committee, have you already committed? Could I please ask you to stand up and thank you so we can recognize you for your commitment? Susie, I see you right there. I see a few of you. Thank you so much. Again, we look forward to working with you all again for next year. Planning Committee, we will have you on stage for a picture shortly with the NICE team as well, so please don't go too far. If we can go to the slides, I know we have a few sections. The exhibit hall is officially open. It's one floor down on the 7th floor. We have fantastic exhibitors, local partners, industry partners from the community, folks that didn't want to go to that other conference in San Francisco, which will not be named. Right. We have a series of breakout sessions, 10:30 to 11:15, break thereafter, and then again, subsequent sessions thereafter. So again, thank you so much. Enjoy the plenary session. Coffee is in the exhibit hall, so you can make your way down there, and we look forward to seeing you later this afternoon. Thank you.